Hello, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Nathalie Bontems. I'm the editor of Communicate magazine. It is my distinct pleasure to present the Gerety Awards Grand Jury Insights for the UAE. The Gerety Awards is named after Francis Gerety, the copywriter who coined the slogan, "A diamond is forever," whom everybody knows. Now it's in its fourth year. It's the only creative prize to reward advertising campaigns, all types of advertising campaigns that resonate most with a female audience. With judging sessions held all around the world each year, Gerety brings together some of the greatest creative leaders to look at the work from the female lens, rewarding all types of creative excellence regardless of who is in the credits. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce this year's grand jury member representing the UAE, Prerna Mehra. Am I pronouncing this right, Prerna?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You're the head of design and creative director at MullenLowe, MENA. Prerna will share with us her experience as a Gerety Award jury member, her views on awards, creativity, and advertising in this challenging environment, as well as your insights on women and their role in the industry, in the creative industry. So Prerna, thank you again for being with us today. And let's start with the big question. How did you become a Gerety Awards jury member?
It's been a hard work of 15 years, to say the least. But it actually started off with a tiny message that Joe sent me on LinkedIn. And this actually happened a year back. And one thing led to another. We got into conversations, and here I am. So he said that, would you be happy to be part of the jury? And I was like, why not? It seems amazing. The pitch was very, very exciting because, like you said, Gerety is one of the awards in the industry. And yeah, I was like, yes, I'll be more than happy to be a part of it.
Had you already been a jury member for another award before?
I have been a jury for a lot of awards. I've been a jury for Dubai Links, for um, I'm forgetting Cresta, Caples, Immortal, and whatnot. I mean, and it's been a great journey so far. But Gerety was first time.
Okay, so how was it different from all these other award shows that you participated in as a jury member?
So I think, I mean, see, the work that gets entered is pretty much the same. It's the experience that you have within judging it, and what's the caveat that you're judging it with. Gerety had a very, very simple sort of a filter, the advertising that is done for women. Obviously, for obvious reasons, because women advertising, I mean, the kind of maximum advertising that happens nowadays is consumed by women. And to actually get into statistics, it's 85% of women who make the purchases. So they're the ones who are making the decisions, and that is what Gerety brings to the table. So judging from that filter, judging from that caveat was interesting, because you're not just judging an award, right? You're judging it from a lens, and that lens was very clear and defined.
And what about the experience of being part of an all-female jury, an all-female jury in general? It's usually, I mean, this must be a different conversation that what you would have with a mixed gender jury.
I would say it was quite interesting because, even being the same gender, there's so many different points of view that people bring into the room, and advertising is known to be a madman's world, thanks to the title from the series. But I think being in that room, I mean, virtually, of course, but sharing the ideas with like-minded people, and they all of them brought their insights from where they were coming from. So that was interesting to see. A lot of people brought very unique takes on the work, which probably, being in one part of the world you don't relate to, but when you hear it from people's perspective, it just gets a lot more clearer and a lot more impactful, I would say. So it was quite interesting, a lot of conversations, because you know how it is when all the women in they're only women in the room. So a lot
Oh,
of
man, I love to talk to, I'm sure.
yeah. So a lot of conversations happened, a lot of good work was discussed, and it was fun. It was literally fun.
Do you think having an all-female jury for this very specific award that has this, as you said, a very simple but unique filter, the general timing and environment makes it all the more relevant, because we've seen a lot happening for women empowerment, including in the region. So how does this environment plays into having this specific award?
As we call it now, topicality, yes, it's important.
Yeah,
At
true.
the same time, everybody's talking about women empowerment, right? I mean, it's not that Gerety Award started because of that, but the fact that it is very relevant in these conversations makes it all the more great, right? Impactful. But in the sense, I mean, if I was to take it from the region, it is extremely relevant. If I was to take it from a world's point of view, it is absolutely relevant. Uh, so it's great for Gerety as an awards to be at this time and being, talking and catering to the right audience, if I was to say that. Because if you see, and if I was to talk world over, there are a lot of women making news, right? Uh, whether it's the directors, whether it is the presidents or the prime minister or the big CEOs, all of them are women, and they're not doing business as usual, right? They are bringing their perspectives, their ideas, their thinking, their ideologies into the business. And pretty much like that, when you have an award show, uh, trying to talk to those people, trying to talk to, and also assess work from their perspective. I think it's great. It's unique and it's great.
Um, were you surprised by the work that was presented? You
I
said
mean,
earlier that it was pretty much the same campaign that you would see elsewhere, but did you see anything that stood out that was surprising to you?
so like I said, I mean, a lot of work do the rounds in awards, right? So we did see a lot of that work. But in terms of actually a lot of regional and localized work, there was a lot of them, and they were from small campaigns to big campaigns. There were so many great pieces that you wouldn't see on regular awards or big shows because of a lot of reasons. You ended up seeing here, and again, they were thought from the perspective of women. They were thought from the perspective of bringing a change into the society. So that was great to see. I mean, I can't really think of one of work, but there were lots and lots of them which we judged, which which actually was pretty much great in this field. Yeah.
So we're talking about the work from the region. The winners this year included the liquid billboard done by Havas, I believe, for Adidas, and the missing piece by Twitter. So what did you think? What did you think of these winners this year? I mean, the liquid billboard has been grabbing awards all over the place. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing initiative.
Absolutely. Like they say that you cannot stop water, right? That's what it's doing. It's just grabbing all the awards. I think it's a great piece of work. One, the relevance of it, the way it's been done, the way it actually changes a very unique medium, OH, which people don't really relate to because we call it the heads down generation who are almost all the time on the phones. You actually get them to look up and take notice, right? In fact, I was a speaker at one of the events, and I did happen to talk about the liquid billboard. It's a great piece of work, and primarily for the reason that it is an outdoor piece. It was placed at the right place at the right time for the right cause. It was extremely integrated. It brought alive the emotions, say, from that particular piece into the Dubai Mall, into content pieces, and a lot more other things. And I don't know, I can go lens talking about this piece of work because it's just great. And it also does one very, very impactful thing, the fact that it brings alive the kind of, you know, conversations that we do not have on a regular basis. When it comes to the region, we're very protective about what goes out. At the same time, we are making waves in talking about social issues, social stigmas, things that women are not comfortable with in public, and then you go out and challenge that. So that in itself is a great piece of thinking. So putting that into an idea like liquid billboard, it's great.
And what about the missing piece, this Twitter stunt that was quite impressive as well?
Absolutely. So I think this as a phenomena, like, you take something out of somewhere in order to put emphasis on something, has been done a lot of times. However, with this campaign, they've tried to explore a new medium again, heads down generation, right? uh, so they've tried to do it where it matters the most, where you've got the people talking about issues, where you've got the people who are going to take notice. And they've done it beautifully, right? They've taken exactly the kind of things that you would take notice of if it's missing, right? So that's what stood out. And I think the way it was done was more beautiful than the idea in itself, but at the same time, both of them coming together made it a great piece.
Okay, we had quite a number of candidates from the region in this edition of the Gerety Awards. Was there other candidates that you thought were deserving of winning? And what did you think about the level overall of the region for this year?
So I think year on year, and you would have noticed it if you followed awards, year on year, the region has been picking awards like no other region. Okay. And the fact that there's so much great work happening on a regular basis, and let alone awards, right? Every day that you go out in Dubai, you'll see a billboard which is talking about a particular piece of work, which is great, which may not be entered into awards, but at the same time, it's a great piece of work, right? So I would say from the region perspective, there's definitely great work happening out there. From the Gerety and the awards perspective, there's a lot of interesting work that you see year on year, whether it was the world's tallest donation box that we did, or the double moon that we did, or at the same time the Al Nahar, right? That piece of work. And now the liquid billboard missing piece, and even the IKEA, the redecorate. These are all beautiful pieces of work. They are creating a benchmark in terms of creativity, and they're telling the world that this region is doing some serious advertising.
So actually, if you just go back 10 years ago, the region was considered as still being lacking in terms of creativity compared to the rest of the world. And in recent years, it seemed like it leapfrogged somehow and is now moving like full throttle into intensive, super creative work, and the pace and volume and quality of what's being put out there. What happened, do you think?
Magic. So
it feels like it.
I think with Dubai again and UAE, I would say there's a lot of exchange of talent that keeps happening at all times. And I think UAE is taking advertising and communication and marketing a lot more seriously than it did 10 years back. A lot more brands are being a lot more aware. They're being experimentative, they're being a lot more bold, and they're being a lot more out there. They want to do advertising that is sort of breaking barriers, that's being disruptive, that is putting their name out there. I mean, let alone the brands, like the government is doing some great work. All of the great pieces that were done, and even this year, a lot of stuff that won, and last year, Double Moon or the World's Tallest Donation Box was done for government. Like, which country does such great advertising for government? So if the government is thinking creative, the people are definitely going to be thinking creative. So I think the change in mindset, the change in talent, the change in brands, and a lot more, influx of awards also, which are now seeping into the UAE market, has changed the complete scenario.
Do you think because the reason that was usually given again years back was that clients, advertisers were very shy and very conservative in the way they were viewing their communications? Do you see them having really matured in that sense? And if so, why? Is it the access to data? Is it, how would you explain that?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Not one thing changes anything, right? So
Mhm.
it is the combination of, again, the mindset of brands. I mean, and that's completely my point of view, which I think the social media or the awareness that these digital platforms are bringing, right? You are connected to the world at all times. You are seeing what's happening with, say, McDonald's across the globe. You're seeing what's happening with, say, Nike across the globe. You are seeing advertising that's happening across the globe at all times. So people who are sitting there from the marketeer's point of view, they are also seeing all of this. And they also want to be a part of it. They want to be part of creating advertising that is being talked about world over. It takes, I think virality is a very important word here, right? Because it takes a very simple idea, or something that's very topical and something that's very trending. It takes a second for it to reach across the globe to places that you'd never even imagined, right? So that also helps in making the brands a lot more experimentative and bold, right? They want to create the work that is viral, that goes viral. They want to create the work that is being talked about. And I think with every brief now that is started to come, there is a place for virality, there's a place for making it viral within the brief. So I think it's a mix of everything. Yes, data also, because like I said, devices, right? You're getting access to a lot more information. You also understanding how to use that information in the best possible way. So it's a collective sort of an infrastructure that is getting the kind of work out there. Yeah.
And yeah, and part of this collective transformation, one driver, and not an insignificant one, would be the transformation of the audience as well, right?
Absolutely, like,
So
yeah, rightly.
how please go ahead.
No, I mean, you rightly said, because you, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are making your ad either famous or not, right? It's like the movies has evolved. Our way of watching content has evolved, right? Everything is happening on our palms. Everybody is changing their point of view and their sort of habits of consuming stuff. So yes, again, the audiences and the kind of advertising, the kind of exposure advertising used to get, it it's nowhere compared to the kind of exposure it gets now, right? Thanks to social media. You put up one ad out there which is great and it works, it's going to give you impressions like nothing else, right? And these are measurable impressions. These are measurable sort of ROIs. So yes, the audience is very, very informed, evolved, and they want a lot more creative stuff.
Yeah, they're very informed and educated and demanding. So, in this very dynamic environment in the region, what the role of women is transforming, as we were discussing earlier, whether it's in the workplace, legally in Saudi Arabia, obviously things are changing in this in the GCC, in Dubai as well. How from what I can see as Communicate, we often we recently released a magazine, an issue, a special issue about women, and many of them were complaining about the fact that in creative senior roles, you don't see that many women yet. You see more women in many industries grabbing, but you have very few CEOs and very few creative director, executive creative directors, senior roles in creativity. Is this something that you see as well?
I would say yes and no. I mean, when it comes to a lot of brands, and if I was to actually sit here and see right now, Microsoft has a female leader. A lot of other brands have female leaders. So from that perspective, yes, women are out there and getting the kind of limelight that they deserve.
In marketing.
Sorry?
In marketing roles.
Exactly, in marketing. When it comes to advertising.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's slowly picking up. And I would say it's still not full blown as a phenomena, but it's slowly picking up. If you actually pick up any award that's been won in the region, you'll see behind in those credits there will be one or two women who actually playing a very, very important role in bringing that campaign alive. So there are women out there. There are women out there who are making a difference in terms of advertising. In terms of the ECDs in the region, I would say yes, there are very few right now, but it's not that there haven't been, right? I know of two ECDs who've been quite famous, and they've just left advertising, unfortunately. Great people, but I think it's also picking up, right? uh, Again, I wouldn't even say GCC, right? World over, if you see, and if you see the ratios, they are a little dipped when it comes to the female leaders, right? Can is doing a lot of stuff when it comes to female leaders. A lot of advertising awards and fraternities are doing a lot of stuff when it comes to leaders. It's something that people are noticing. It is something that is definitely going to change, and it's something that looks like it's going to be changing soon.
And how important is it to have this female perspective and insight and input in creativity, in creative work, especially when talking to women? But as a rule, how important is it?
I think it's very important. Like I said, 85% of purchases are being made by women, right? And empathy, this sex or this gender is known to be more empathetic than men. So if you correlate the two, who are understanding this 85% of the mindset, it is the women who can understand them better than men, right? It is the gender that is more empathetic, that feels the emotion, takes out the emotion a lot more better. It is a gender that is definitely changing the world. And I mean, let alone advertising. Yes, I say changing the world. Women can bring a lot more holistic approach to advertising, to scripts, to campaigns, getting very different insights, making an impact a lot more deeper, right? They understand their audience very well. They relate to it extremely well, and they're the ones who can bring out their emotions alive or their needs alive, right? So I think
research actually shows that women prefer advertising that really relates to them. And this is advertising created by men more often, by women, I'm sorry. That's that's a slip of the tongue, by women more often than not. When we were preparing this interview, you were talking about how creativity by women is different, and you mentioned Wonder Woman, which I found super intriguing. So why got you there?
So okay, I don't know if you've seen the movie.
Yes,
but yeah, so Patty Jenkins, okay, she
Mhm.
is one of the only three women in the industry. Actually, the director who's worked on a live action film worth over $100 million. Only three women have done this in this whole world. But when she actually did that, what people appreciated was, of course, the movie, but at the same time, the nuances that she has picked up, right? She has picked up a lot more details. She has basically, made people empathize with the movie, right? And after this, so there's been a conversation, of course, in the industry, wherein they're saying that there need to be a lot more female directors. But the fact that, you know there are three people who've shown the kind of impact women can bring in all fields, right? And we're talking about advertising here, and is why I even got Patty Jenkins in here, because she's also coming from a creative field. She also does the same things as we do, right? She looks for the insight. She looks for how do you bring out the emotions. How do you bring out the nuances, if I was to say that. So she's doing exactly what we are doing in advertising, but just a different media, right? And she's done a great job with Wonder Woman, and everybody's talking about it. So that's an example in itself,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
So
It is. We all dream of being Diana Prince, I'm sure. So let's finish with one question, which I think is important. There are many awards in the region. Many of them claim to be different and to have the one extra touch that makes them more relevant or more credible. How important is it to have an awards dedicated specifically to women and advertising targeting women, like the Gerety Awards, specifically in this region? What role can having such an award play in the industry and with the audience?
I think we as a region, and when you talk about the region, right, we as a region are still not open out there, right? We don't talk about things as openly as other regions do or as other countries do. We cannot talk about a lot of things. But at the same time, right, what Gerety is doing is telling women that your insights, your thinking, the way you are doing advertising is being appreciated world over. So bring that knowledge, bring that thinking, bring that ballsiness, if I was to say that, in your work. So I think it's very important for an awards to do that. You can be as generic as a lot of awards, and cater to um, creativity. But what Gerety is doing is very, very specific. It's very, very targeted, if I was to say that, and it works, right? I mean, when I was judging it, I had to put on uh, the hat where I'm judging it from not just creativity perspective. I also have this layer of, okay, does it work for women? Am I seeing it? Is it for a women consumer? Who's the consumer? Who is it talking to, and how is it talking to it, right? So putting that hat, it's going to become, advertising is going to become a lot more effective, a lot more, like I said, ballsy, a lot more impactful, and a lot more emotional, if I was to say that. And the way emotions connect to you, there's nothing else that can connect to you, right?
Emotional is good sometimes. It's good. Let's be proud. Well,
Um,
thank you so much, Prerna. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
No, I think this was a very great session. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, I mean, Gerety is special. I had a lot of fun judging the work at Gerety and being a part of the jury alongside a lot of accomplished women. So that was a great experience again. And
Thank you. Yeah,
uh,
please.
I'm sorry, and I'm just saying that I don't want to sound like a sisterhood thing, but at the same time, seeing a lot of great creative women coming together for a single cause, or I mean, I wouldn't say even a cause, that's the wrong word to use, but for the same specific sort of
Purpose.
purpose. I
Mhm.
think it was great. It was great to see that. So thank you.
So looking forward to the next year. It's next year has some surprises in store, I believe, but let's wait. So Prerna, Head of Design and Creative Director at MullenLowe, MENA, thank you so much for your insights and your expertise. And thank you everybody who has watched this Gerety Awards Grand Jury Insights for the UAE. We look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.